Welcome to the Running Network Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
We're at the RRCA's 50th anniversary luncheon with Hal Higdon, who is one of the founders of the organization. 50 years, can you imagine?
Yeah, there were very few of us running the sport back then. When I first ran the Boston Marathon in 1959, there were about 150 of us out on the course, and very fast people. You know, people didn't show up who couldn't run the marathon in either 3 hours or very close to it. And I think the sport has evolved. It's sort of come of age to the fact now that there's so many people running 4, 5, 6-hour marathons. It's a delight to still be a runner in this era. The sport's slowed down for me. As I've slowed down, it's slowed down to get me too.
But that's 50 years you've been running.
I've tried to run, yes, and so.
Well, let's go back 50 years ago, and what inspired you and the others who started it? What inspired you to start RRCA?
Well, I wasn't so much of a starter. I was sort of a hanger-on. Browning Ross, who was the real founder of the RRCA, sort of based it off of a similar Roadrunners Club in England, sort of convened a meeting in New York the day of the National AU Track and Field Indoor Championships in Madison Square Garden, which I was running, so I happened to be in town. Knew I was mainly a track guy at that time, but thought, you know, maybe there were some road races in my future, so I sort of showed up at the meeting long after it had started, and just happened to be there by coincidence. But a number of us really sort of went back from that meeting to back to the Chicago area where I was living at that time, and we sort of founded the grassroots start of the sport, and it's gone from there.
Well, it's been a great organization. It's really helped a lot of clubs put on races and helped with insurance and promotion and national championships, and it really is the face of grassroots running, I think.
Right, and you know, we're talking about Michigan. There's just so many great little races in your state. A couple that I run every year, the Turkey Trot up in Niles, Michigan. Steve's run, of course, in Dowagiac. One of my favorite runs, I haven't run it for a few years, is the 25K up in Grand Rapids, and Bayshore Marathon up in Traverse City. A lot of good races in your state. And I'm only about 1.25 miles from the Michigan state line, living in Long Beach, Indiana, so I sort of consider myself a pseudo-Michigander.
Well, we do too. In fact, we sort of call that area the Michiana area, don't we?
Michiana, right.
One of the things you said as part of the panel a few minutes ago really struck me. You were talking about the highlights of the sport, and you also threw in the group that you thought the sport needed to tackle next, and that's kids running, and the kids who are not running track and field but will be running road races in the future.
Right, and one of my grandsons is currently running on the high school track, cross country, playing soccer, everything, and he's a pretty gifted athlete. But what about the kids at that school who are not gifted runners? Well, the cross-country team does attract quite a few. They've got some nice slow runners on that team, thankfully. It's a pretty large team. But there's so many guys in the school, gals in the school who are going to be our marathoners in the future, running 4, 5, 6-hour marathon, and we really need more programs for people like that. You know, one of the problems is that the schools and cutting money to their budgets, they cut out a gym, they cut out art, music, all those properties like that. It would be nice if we could bring a few of those programs back in, and not the old traditional gym that I faced when I was growing up, where if you goofed up you had to do 50 push-ups, but rather a gym that sort of envelops people into activities that they can take into their older years.
Well, Hal, it's been a great celebration, and we really appreciate your sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to see you again.